Alrighty then. Okay, so for those of you guys who haven't been here, done that before, every week we do this program in the Ring of Fire called Our Healing Choices. It's Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific. About this time, sometimes we start a little late, a little round of how's it going, like we just did. So expect to at least get started by around 15 after. Anyway, it's a place to come to share what you know about a topic. It's a different health or wellness topic each week. And you come to share what you know about the topic, maybe learn a little bit that you didn't know, and basically share your awesome. So without further ado, we've got week 132. Topic of the week is multicultural and interpersonal awareness. Got some talking points here, really questions. Definition of multicultural awareness. What do we know about cultures outside our own? How do we think or feel good or bad about cultures outside our own? Where do our beliefs about other cultures come from? How much of it comes from our own active research, aka questions we've cared to ask, versus what we've heard or been told about them? Where and how can we learn more about other people's cultures and traditions? I'll mention my neighbor Jerry's Cold War theory. Let's see, how do we relate to people who are culturally and racially different than us? Where can we find and get to know people who are culturally and racially different than us? And can there be unity in our diversity? If you can think of anything else to add to that, I'll kind of put it as a mental note as a kind of a talking point, and we can go from there. But the floor is yours when you want it. Yeah, any thoughts on the topic to start? And then I can go into maybe the definition.
I'll tell you one thing that I know to be very true, and I've seen it. Not only is this society that we all live in some way got racial and or cultural differences, but also people with disabilities, no matter what they could be. And I think that the people with disabilities are probably the third category of people that get picked on because of their disability. Now, granted, things have gotten better over the years, but there's still those little pricks that like to get their digs in, and I'm sorry, I have no time for those people. But I will definitely stick up for the ones that do have a disability of some sort. Any sort, actually. But I take no shit from anybody either, disabled or not. I'm an equal opportunity person that takes no shit from anybody.
Very cool, Marcus. Very cool. And you should, as you should. Maybe we can add to this. I'm gonna just mention the definition: multicultural awareness. It says it involves a greater understanding, sensitivity, and appreciation of the history, values, experiences, and lifestyles of groups that include, but are not limited to, race, ethnicity, gender, and I can add disabled. We could add, I don't know, political, what shall I say, political affiliation, sexual preference. I mean, you can go on and on how people are different as far as their culture and their way of life and stuff. So maybe we can add to that. Any thoughts? Oh yeah, religion maybe.
I was just gonna say we could add religion to that list.
Oh yes, I know. For example, my mother, devoted Christian. I do not pick on her about it, but I don't sit there and preach to others either, and neither does she. But you know, she's a devoted Christian. I'm kind of sort of on the fence in the organized religion category. Not to say I'm not a spiritual person, but organized religion, yeah, I can take it or leave it.
I'm with you on that one. Yeah, I was gonna say, trying to think of anything else. And maybe we can come up with a few others in the process of this, how that would qualify as someone like a cultural separation, so to speak, how people are culturally different than others. But maybe we could just start with, what do we know about cultures outside our own? Just pick anything. Maybe we can help each other go down that path, but pick anything, any culture that's different than your own, and what do we know about it? Whether it be factual or not, whether we know it to be true or not, what do we know about it? Like, for instance, I know very little about the Mormon religion. I just see people like walking in pairs, either door to door or riding a bike or whatever, to help get people on board with the religion. I I am limited in my knowledge of them. I mean, I don't necessarily judge them for proselytizing and doing what they do, and buying big churches and stuff. Somehow they can afford that, but like I feel like I can't judge unless I know more about them. But anyway, I feel like if once we know more, we can understand better. But it's just one thing. We could just kind of just mic up and just throw stuff out there.
Well, I mean, it's not really a cultural thing, but I don't know if many people know this, but the Scotland's national animal is a unicorn.
I am so sorry. Unicorn? Really? I always thought that was a fictional character or animal. But in any case, I guess countries don't have to have real life living creatures as their animals. But that is pretty cool, actually.
I have a Thai friend whose family eats a lot of seafood. I don't know if that's like straight up like a judgment or a truth or like whatever, but that's what I know. They eat a lot of seafood. My friend and his sister tricked me one time into eating like, they said it was some kind of a dessert or something. And they tricked me into eating like octopus like arm, you know, where the sucker is or something. And I'm like, oh, I almost spit it out. They said it's really good. Like, it's good. You're gonna love it. Trust me. Oh man. Yeah. So they eat a lot of seafood.
I heard somewhere in the Asian culture that there is, there's a lot of really aged, still living, like well into their hundreds, um, because of their diets, how they eat. They these really small, primitive, cultured, or what we would refer to as primitive, cultured villages and whatnot in like Okinawa and places like that. They just live a very long time because they're not poisoning their bodies with preservatives and, you know, processed foods and, you know, all that stuff. So that definitely says something for the modern advances, or what we would refer to as modern advances of modern society.
Well, yeah, they don't eat 90% of what Americans consider. Well, I'm American. I live in America, so well, it's complicated. Anyways, they don't eat like chips and stuff like that. Like, they don't eat things, they make them themselves 90% of the time. Like 90% of, almost 60% of the Chinese's diet is rice. And the fact that they eat rice on a daily basis, that is their main source of food intake, is rice.
I heard about a culture, I believe it was kind of totally away from civilized culture, what we would call civilized culture, in like Brazil, who apparently don't eat sugar. There's no sugar apparently in their diet, or very low sugar. I forget exactly. But anyway, the one thing that's common, that's different in their diet completely than our diet, is, I believe, sugar. And these people have great teeth and healthy skin. Like their skin is especially like the teenage year people. Literally, their skin is clear, no acne whatsoever, and so they're attributing acne predominantly to the high level of carbohydrates and sugar foods, sweeteners, you know, processed sweeteners in our fast processed food culture. Pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that's, well, I gotta say, I like my sugar, so I don't know if I could give it up entirely, but I don't anymore, I should say. I don't sit there and mow down on candy or anything like that a lot. But yeah, on occasion, I get a sweet tooth, dang it. But I suppose if you grew up without it, you really wouldn't get that sweet tooth. Unless maybe you came into the States and you were people throwing candy at you. Yeah, you might be like, what is this? Ooh, this is some good stuff.
I also heard that sugar sweets is like an addiction. Like if you eat it more, you want more. If you eat it less, you want it less. So I heard it's addictive. Um, Not like a drug per se, but I don't know, maybe psychologically. I don't know. But I'm trying to think like for politics, for political culture, if you want to call it that. Like I'm trying to think. I feel like Republicans, I hate to say this, but I feel like Republicans in general aren't as logical thinkers as Democrats. Not really a Democrat or really a Republican. I'm neither, I think. But I feel like Republicans are a little bit less logical about stuff. They're more about like believing and having faith in stuff than real tangible things.
Well, I'm going to just say real quick, and then I'll let somebody else have the mic, but I'm going to say I typically would vote I'm thinking I'm not even going to vote because I don't like neither party. None of them. So, yeah. And that's just my opinion.
Amen to that, sister. I hate these guys. But anyway, I want to give you an update, and I'm listening to your show. But update is, I got the part. The guy was the nicest guy. He actually owns the shop, and he told me how to install it, and it worked out. So got a receipt and everything. I'm heading back home, listening to the show.
So I agree with you on the fact that you're not voting. I'm not voting either this year. 2016, I'm finally legal to vote, and that's what I get stuck with. I'm kind of just sitting there like, yeah, no, I'm not voting this year.
Yeah, I feel you guys. I'm also probably either not going to vote or I'm going to fill in the blank. And I don't know who I'm going to fill in the blank yet. I mean, look, it seems like it's completely illogical to fill in the blank and just vote for whoever is like the person that you resonate with the most. But it's like, come on. I mean, in this country about, I don't know. I feel like we should follow our heart and go with that. And if we're not following our heart and we're just doing something like it's a game, and voting for a president should not be a game we play. Oh, well, if we vote this person in now, then it's more likely that someone else might get voted in later. Like that it's more in line with how we want it to be. And it's like, oh, you know, I'm tired of it. I want a president that I can respect.
And if I do vote, I'm voting. Like, I'm gonna do what you said you're gonna do, and I'm filling in the blank, and I'm voting for Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, right? Like Mickey Mouse or like one of the Power Rangers. I mean, come on. It's like I wish people could. I want to know how many people actually fill in the blank this election, and I want to see all of the answers. That's what I want. I want to be like somehow be like, you know, after the afterlife where you actually get to see everything that actually happened at any point in time and go back and figure out what did everybody say this election when they filled in the blank. That's what I want. That'd be awesome. All right, so getting back on topic, what do we know about other cultures outside our own? Everything that is not us. What do we know about that? Yeah. And how do we feel, whether it's good or bad, about those cultures outside our own?
Well, back in the day in Scotland, sorry, I'm talking a lot about Scotland. My ancestors are from there. That was hot. Trying to put something in the microwave. Back in the day in Scotland, actually, they still do it now. Men wore kilts, and 90% of the men who wore the kilts didn't wear anything underneath. So they were free balling. Sorry, that's kind of graphic, but yeah. The men wore skirts, and there were different skirts for different kinds of, like, there was leisure skirts, there was farming, or there was leisure kilts, farming kilts, and war kilts. That's a fun fact.
What's up, Ring of Fire? Waving.
Brian, how you doing, brother? I hope you're having a good day. For anyone else who has joined us recently and wants to jump in on the conversation, this is week 132, Our Healing Choices. The topic of the night is multicultural and interpersonal awareness. We're basically talking about what we know and how we feel about cultures outside of our own.
Yeah, I'm just watching a movie, drinking some root beer, eating corn dogs, and relaxing while watching the movie.
Cool, cool. All right, so hate to judge. I know we all do, but this is something I feel like Scientologists are a little cuckoo. I'm just saying it could be the other way. Maybe if I knew a little bit more about Scientology and why they believe what they believe, but apparently they believe in something like something from outer space. Like alien is gonna come and I don't know, take them away. I could be totally way off on this, but it's has something to do with outer space and aliens and a little sci-fi for me. Like I like stuff that's tangible, like my breathing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. That's all. Scandinavian culture, I feel like they got all their shit together. So I feel like I could fit right into the Scandinavian culture. Like for instance, if certain person wins the presidency, I might, if I can find a way to do it, move to Scandinavia and somehow get a work visa and somehow eventually live there. Just saying.
What the hell is in Scandinavia? Bunch of Scandinavians doing Scandinavian things? I don't know. Sounds kind of boring.
Yeah, but what do we know about other cultures? Like seriously, we only know what people have told us typically. I feel like that's all that's going down is like, or what we've kind of read just in a magazine randomly without actively like kind of looking into it or searching or actively pursuing it. What someone says about a culture or whatever. Like so far, I haven't necessarily pursued the Scandinavian culture, like literally, like I want to find out what this is all about. But from what I hear, they just have their shit together. Their transportation kicks ass. Their healthcare is awesome. Yeah, you pay probably a ton in taxes, but their schools are like top notch. Um, their environment, all their environmental, like everything about the environment is like top notch, clean air, like good. I mean, it's like the way I feel like people should live, healthy. Anyway, that's just me. So it's kind of a judgment, but and I don't know everything. And it's true, like we don't know everything about a culture. We might be making just judgments about them. That's the point. We might just be making judgments about a culture. We don't know enough about them. So yeah, let's just be real. I mean, we can share good and bad about what we know about other people and other cultures. Point being, the bad may not all be all that bad. It could be just what someone told you when you were younger. Be a parent, an uncle, or someone that you respected, and so you just kind of took it for truth because they said it. And it's not necessarily that those people or that culture is bad. It's just that that's what you remember, and that's what you believed without really, I don't know, caring to check that fact, that reality. I don't know. It's kind of sad in a way, but any other thoughts about cultures that we know something about outside of our own?
Well, what culture that I don't understand is Muslims, because
J-Cole fans who weren't in attendance
I'll
for a
say
Music
that because
Festival in Queens, New York will have to wait
it's so difficult. Like they preach love, they preach God, and then they kill. So It's crazy to me how they do things like that. That's my thing on that.
Anyone have some real info about Muslims, and maybe even is there a Muslim in the channel right now that could correct us on how Muslims can be about God and about love, but then also, end up killing people, apparently being the ones that are killing people, which I don't know if that's true. I'm certain that that's true. Not all, obviously not all races are bad. Not all people within a race are bad. We just see stuff like this on the news. We see a Muslim, blowing up a mosque or whatever it might be, or some kind of a not political, but like public place, and we think they're all bad for some reason. We think, oh, all Muslims are bad, which is total crock of shit, because there are a lot of Muslims in the world that are good-natured people. They would take you into their home probably and have you stay as long as you need and give you food probably, as would some other Americans in our country, in certain parts of our country, I'm sure. Would just take you in off the street, be like, hey, seem to be struggling. Let me help you out for a couple of days to get you back on your feet or whatever. So it's like, I feel like it's partly who we hear it from and whether we actually check that fact against something else, either asking someone else or maybe doing the research on Google or whatever, wherever you actively search for your information.
Well, you have Muslim extremists, but you have extremists in the Catholic or the Christian religions too. So the media is a big part of the deception because they just show you all the negativity. They're not showing you all the positive things that the Muslim communities are doing, and so it's a big target with the media and those who control the media. There is a big undercurrent of what's going on in the world today in reference to the direction that the people that hold the strings in the government or outside the government, they want the direction of the world to go. So they feed on these things and they use these things to manipulate the masses in the way they think and portray different religions and different cultures as one thing or the other, to be able to sway people's thoughts in one direction or the other.
Hello, Ring of Fire. Hello, Cheryl. How are you? How's everybody else on this channel?
Welcome, Mad Dog. Hey, how you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in a while. I haven't seen you in a while. Seen you in here in a while. Hope you're having a good day. We're in the middle of a program, kind of generally just got started. Topic of the week is multicultural and interpersonal awareness, and we're talking about just being totally frank about how we think or feel, whether it be good or bad, about cultures outside of our own. What do we believe about cultures outside of our own? It's just being frank about it, and we can get down and dirty and find out. The next question I thought of would be, where do those beliefs come from? Straight up, like what do we believe and where did we get that belief about another culture that's not our own, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing? Where does that information come from?
And I'm doing good, Hope, and I'll stand by and listen.
Well, I mean, like you said before, and just a lot of things is it comes from what people tell us and what we hear and what we see on like TV. And let's say you're scrolling to Facebook and you see this and the other thing, like it pretty much just the way we depict things on what we hear, see, this, that, and the other thing. I don't know.
Andrew, I'm just making a suggestion because you end up talking a little bit about a certain topic, and then we kind of feed off of that. But and then we'll get every once in a while the interruption of someone new coming into the room, not knowing what's going on. But you may want to acknowledge the last person's statement before you start introing and talking to them and rehashing what the show's about. Length of time it took to create that thought about what you just said doesn't go to waste. Otherwise, my comment doesn't matter.
Good point, brother. Appreciate it, man.
No worries. Yes, because people are going to be showing up and stuff. So if someone says something, let's acknowledge their statement first, and then we'll let the new person that comes in that doesn't know what's going on. We'll kind of touch bases with that. But nonetheless, that's what I think. I think the media is a big role in this deception and confusing the masses of what cultures are all about and what their real intentions are. I think that as a whole, humanity is a peaceful entity, and I think that we all want to get along and we all want to do and help each other. It doesn't matter what culture you're in, but the fear factor of pulling over on the side of the road because you have a flat, and then allowing somebody to help you that you don't know, and he comes in with like this thing around his head, like if he was a Muslim, and you just want to leave the car there and run across the traffic. So it's a lot of these negative things that the media plays out that feeds on our psyche.
Yeah, Peter, you've got a hugely good point there. I honestly don't doubt that happens. Like, I'm not dead to the world to know that, and I don't have my head in the sand to know that that's probably what's going on. And does anyone else have any thoughts on that? The media directing our beliefs and stuff. I would even say social media as well. I don't know if they can direct it as much in social media, but standard media like TV and radio and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure they can do it a lot more there if they want to. But it definitely affects, like you said, you're on the side of the road, someone who's quote unquote Muslim looking, or I hate to say it, like black, approaches you to help you, instead of thinking this person has good intentions and they're here to help me, your mind creates a huge smoke and mirrors play on reality and puts this fog over reality. And basically, before this person even opens their mouth, doesn't matter who they are, you already are thinking something negative is going to happen, and you become a participant in that negativity. You immediately judge them, and then immediately what you bring out of them is their worst side. Potentially, they may have been totally happy to help you, but as soon as you judge them and say, "Oh no, I don't want you to help me," then you're gonna by believing in the smoke and mirrors in your head about what is going to happen, you bring out the worst in them. It's a crazy, oh man, it makes me sick almost.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. It makes me sick too. But that if you go back to that conversation you had earlier about moving to what was it, that place that you wanted to go to and learning more about that culture, that they have their shit together and so forth. When you go to like and I won't say third world country, but it's not like a progressive country like here in the United States, because theoretically, honestly speaking, with all the crap put aside, we have freeways, we have free refills and the French fries and the ketchup and tomatoes. You can't find some of these things in France and other parts of the country. You can't get free refills in the supermarket. I mean, in the fast food joint. We have in this kind of free society the ability to do a lot, and we take a lot for granted. But when you go to like a third world country that doesn't have this media progressiveness, and they're living like off grid, if you will, they don't have a lot of this crime issues. They don't have a lot of this mentality. Everybody helps each other and works with each other. If we could all live under that type of situation, that would be the best solution here, because it's easy. It's easier for us to get why, and God bless America for all the things that they provide us, but then we take it for granted with that respect that we should, because it's a free country. So we take that for granted.
We think we're free, but for the most part, our choices aren't our own anymore, because the media basically directs us on how we should choose, how we should, I don't know, what we should buy, who we should be with, how much money we should make to be quote unquote successful or not legitimate, but like, what's the word? Relevant. It's sick. And I think you're right. The third world countries don't have as much of the media bombardment that we get through regular media, through social media, that's basically directing us a certain way. Now, I would almost argue with that, in that I'll give you an example. Like, there are people that I know who have social media profiles that are completely chock full of negative people. So by allowing the negative people, aka allowing them to be friends with you, friend requesting people like that, you tend to attract and see the world the way they see the world. I'm not going to really pat myself on the back here, but I got to say it by example. Like, I vet the people that I have on social media. I look at their timeline. If they're posting junk and negative, like anger-ridden shit on their timeline, or like food like every other shot, or selfies every other shot or every other post, I hate to do that, but the reality of it is that the other side to the media pushing their agenda on us is that what do we allow to happen? So we have a choice there. It's like that, where free will comes into play. So we can't say that it's all about the them, quote unquote them, pushing their agenda on us through the media. Anyway, and I think it's a definite valid point, that they are trying to maybe manipulate us to do certain things, and they'll probably dupe the majority of society. But then there's certain people who become, I don't know, self-aware, self-actualized, whatever you want to call it, who actually take in the info, know that it's coming from an outside source that they didn't necessarily choose and pursue themselves, and they question it because it's not something they actively pursued, if that makes any sense.
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to attend the entire program, but I know that y'all had talked about sharing stories that maybe started out bad but ended out or turned out good. And some of you already know this, but I did have to teach myself how to walk 2 separate times within a year's period. And when I say walk, I mean so wheelchair bound that I couldn't do anything for myself as far as, personal hygiene or any of that. So I was determined. And after going through that 2 times, and even stairs scare me, I'm a full-time walker again, and I have a big toe, Cheryl, but the other life-threatening things were more important than the broken big toe, so I never got it fixed, and it lays on top of the other. But my point is that I learned something about myself, a very valuable lesson, is that I'm a fighter and I'm not a quitter.
Well, good on you, Sassy. That's excellent. Well, you know what? We can all learn a lesson from self-realization that sometimes the things that hurt can make us stronger. And in reference to cultures and um, making judgment calls or being impartial to one another, we need to take the time to learn from others' mistakes in other countries as a whole or in our own circle about judgment calls that we made of other cultures. We need to see things in a different light. And we need to be able to go back to the basics to remember that we're all, if you cut us, we all bleed. And that way we can focus back on the humanistic side of who we are.
And you know, we do in this channel that exact thing. I met a man from Middle East. He was Muslim, and he asked me. He said, "Audrey, why do Americans hate Muslims?" And I said, "You know, the average American, we do not hate Muslims. We realize that there are more good Muslims than there are bad Muslims. It's just the radicals that come and they kill. That's what Americans don't like, but it's not like we don't, like the Muslim people as a whole." And he said, we're just afraid of the radicals as you are because they kill our children and our families just as they would yours. And I said, yes. And in America, they're bad people here as well that do very awful things. So this is some common denominator that we share. And it may be just as simple as, someone on this channel that'll, listen, and then he'll pipe up after a while and say, "I'm listening because I'm trying to teach children how to speak better English, and I am in Africa or in the Middle East." So there's common denominators, and I tell him, I say, we're all looking at the same moon, So I see what you're saying.
Yeah, we're all looking at the same moon, and we all bleed the same blood. Very good transmission there, Peter and Audrey. And Audrey, like, I'm seeing you as having literally healed your body twice by your toughness, by like not agreeing with your current reality and literally believing that like I can be walking again. Like you've done that twice. Like you're able, that just goes to show that like when we get knocked down, especially in regards to our health, that we can literally, by the choices that we make, heal ourselves. It's like almost like the fountain of youth. I think of a diabetic changing their diet from the thing that might have more than likely caused their illness to a diet that's healthy and nourishing that actually makes their diabetes go away. So they're no longer saying, "I am a diabetic." It's no longer a thing. That to me is huge. It's the fountain of youth. They might have been overweight and very unhealthy and diabetic and with other health conditions, but then flipped it all around, and 5 years later they're they're more fit, healthier inside and out, mentally and physically than they were 5 years ago. So how is that not a fountain of youth? Simply your choices.
Hey guys, what did I miss? Because I went in a dead zone there.
Don't know, man. Let's say choices could be the fountain of youth, could prove to be the fountain of youth. And I don't know, Audrey, I don't know if you heard her mention her story, her comeback story to walking again. Forget exactly what she said after that, but yeah, about the Muslims. Good point. The Muslims. I have to make a point about look. You can judge. There's bad Muslims and good Muslims, right? Well, there's bad Americans and good Americans, right? I saw a video where a military truck was going down the street in like Bangladesh or something, and these kids, a whole group of kids, were running after this truck, right? Literally running at the speed of the truck, and the truck wasn't going that fast, but they were teasing the kids with bottled water for like a mile, and these kids were running until the last one was running. They threw the bottle, and it didn't even get to the kid that had run nearly a mile after the bottle. Some kids from the side of the road came out and grabbed it, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, what kind of insanity? What kind of a person does that? And it's just a bad apple that happens to be American. You know, that whole truck could have been full of bad apple, bad people who happen to have been, you know, slipped through the cracks of our military and just happen to be there for the wrong reasons. And yet we see that video and we think, oh, some other country sees that video and like, oh, God, man, all Americans are bad. They suck. I hate those people. No, that's just wrong. We got to do our own research and not just believe what we see on TV and social media and all that stuff. You know, do our own research. It's so important, I think.
Sorry, but you know what? When Audrey said that about there's good and bad and so forth, and what you just mentioned about the apple, I always remembered that whole thing when they used to tell me one bad apple ruins the whole bunch, and I never agreed to that growing up. But then when you grow up and you see this crap, you start telling your children, yeah, you can't hang around with Johnny because he's a mess, and I don't want you, rubbing off on you. And it's true. So you put a bad soldier, and the others start floating in with the same thing because they don't want to be. It's just the same thing as in the schoolyard. So I think the common denominators we are twofold. We have those who deal through evil, because evil influences, and good influences. And so, what is the good and the evil? And how do they play a role in our cultural upbringing? Every culture has a certain in what is evil. And I think that plays a real hard role in
That project, you were cutting out there a little at the end. You know, part of me, it feels like, what do we allow? Like even the parent, even the parent that doesn't allow the child to hang with a certain, group of kids or whatever, at the end, the gatekeeper, I think, is what we allow. What we allow ourselves to believe, who we allow our kids to hang out with, this kind of stuff. Just basically, what do we allow? Basically, is what's going to determine what we think about a different culture, or a type of person, or whatever it might be. What do we allow?
I'm sorry, I've been hitting on a dead zone here. I'm still driving. I don't know how much you got of it, but anyway, I hope you got most of it.
Okay. I just want to say that in raising my sons had friends from all races, just as I did growing up. I think as parents, what's important is that you spend time with their friends. My house was the hangout house, and all their friends would come and stay at my house. And so it gave me the opportunity to get to know these boys and what they were really like. And they were all just great, great young men, young kids, teenagers. And, they were good influences on each other. So I had no problem at all with them hanging out with any race. And they grew up to be fine young men, and they're not judgmental of any race, gay, Muslim, African American. There's no race that they have not been exposed to. In fact, they're very interested in different races and cultures and religion. So that too, I think, plays a big factor as a parent. Parents have to be vigilant and aware of who their kids are hanging around with. It's not hard as a parent to tell if a child is a bad apple. And, it's just not hard. And I'm sure most of you know that already. So I think that's important. But, all of this that we're talking about, and you said something about the fountain of youth. Well, I'm going to admit that for 4 years only, I was an alcoholic, and I drank wine like you would not believe, like water. And in that process, I got cirrhosis of the liver. And in that process, I quit drinking. I signed a piece of paper from my doctor that said I would quit. And when I signed my name, I never picked up another bottle of wine again. Well, because of the year and a half that's gone by, my liver has had the opportunity to heal itself. So I don't need a transplant. I don't need dialysis. So in a way, for me, that's kind of like the fountain of youth, because I gave my liver back to myself for doing what I knew was the right thing to do.
That is super, super, super powerful, what you just said. Literally, your choice, your commitment to stop drinking was a choice that allowed your body to heal. So, truth in point, like if there is a fountain of youth, mark my words, if there is a fountain of youth in our world, in our lifetime, it is in our choices. More so, I would say, in our commitments to allow our body to heal and recognize that something that we're doing day in and day out is killing our body, bombarding our body, and keeping it from healing. It would be like getting a cut on your hand, and like every day, instead of it healing, you're like recutting it and opening it up so that it never has a chance to heal. And it's cool that your body can heal on the outside and on the inside. And to recognize that and know that that's possible is so powerful. Like, I don't even have words to describe how powerful that is, especially when you hear stories from real people like Audrey that have been through it and see the outcome of that.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. And they did tell me that if I continued, that I would only have 3 years to live. So, you know, and even after, you know, being on the verge of liver kidney failure and being able to bring myself back and walk and get dressed up and look pretty and walk into my doctor's office and him say to me, "Tracy, you look really good." And I said, "Well, thank you, Dr. Pollock." And he goes, "I thought you were going to die." And when your doctor tells you that, it feels like you just swallowed something so big in your throat that you can't swallow it. That's what it felt like to me. And so I did the right thing, and I appreciate the compliments. I just hope that I can help somebody else if anybody else is struggling with any of these kind of things. And I will always be happy to listen if any of you need someone to talk to.
Well, I think that Tracy, took advantage of or appreciated.
Lost you there, sweetheart. Quite a bit back.
Can you hear me? Do you copy?
Yeah, I do now.
I was just mentioning to you that I think that you took advantage and appreciated a gift that was given to you time ago, where the gift of free will that is given to all of us inherently. And some of us choose it to make right decisions, and some choose it to make wrong decisions. And some of us learn from the decisions we make. And that's how our will becomes stronger. And you took advantage of that. You appreciated that gift, and you used it to be able to get away from a bad course that you had made. And that helps others. That experience of that appreciation for that gift that's been given to us is what will help others make a different choice in their life. Appreciate the gift of free will. This is Project PETA signing out. Free mic.
Almost like she was in a ship. she was the captain of a ship. She's going down this one path, and if she never turned the wheel, she would have gone down the path to a death that would have been much sooner than would have otherwise been. And then she chose, you know what, I'm not ready to go yet. So she just turned the wheel a little bit, and she went down a path of healing and of listening to her body and allowing it to heal. And now she's getting better in like day by day. And so who knows, she could have added 15, 20, 30 years to her life. I don't know how old she is, but I'm sure she added a ton of years to her life because I don't know. I think Project is right. That free will is this, and it's a powerful thing to be able to just say, you know what, this is what's happening with me right now, but this, I don't have to allow this to continue. If I do nothing, this will continue, and I will, let's say in her case, I will die somewhere around when the doctor says, which is total crock of shit usually. Don't ever listen to them. Don't believe that shit. But she chose another path, and that's like it's like beyond words, you know, how important that what we're talking about right now is.
Well, I'm 53 and I feel 33. And one day I'll put a picture up so you can see me. But, you know, I don't feel as old as I am. I've lived half my life, I'm sure. But, you know, who knows? I think I'm on this earth for a purpose. I don't know the purpose yet. I don't know why, but I'm still here, and I think it's for a reason.
Ironically, I posted this quote the other day. I was listening to this book, Bruce Lee. It's the Warrior Within. And he made me think of something, and it's the idea that our body ages, but our spirit is ageless. So there's the body itself, the physical form, is going to get old and eventually die. None of us can get away from it. But our mind and our spirit can expand exponentially to the point where, like, by the end of our life, we are so full of experience and love and magic, whatever it might be, and so tuned into life and enjoying it, like our mind is necessarily dying with our body. Maybe at the very last, you know, months or year, maybe, but in general, like, our mind can expand and grow infinitely until our death, and that's powerful, really powerful. And I think we've just learned that our body could slow down in aging based on our spirit and our mind and our choices, which is really cool. So it's almost like, you know, our spirit and our mind can actually, and our choices can actually slow down the aging process. Well, literally, almost literally, it could slow down the aging process. So who's to say that eating some more vegetables isn't going to allow you to live 10, 15 years longer if you do it every day? I'm just saying.
Well, an age is just a number, really. Have y'all ever heard that song? It's Four for Fighting, and it's called 100 Years. It's one of my favorite songs. I think it's a very beautiful song that holds a lot of meaning.
Is it four for fighting? FOUR? For fighting?
That's right. Four for fighting.
All right, I have to look it up. All right, I would say maybe we could move on. What was the next question? Where and how can we learn more about other people's cultures and traditions and ways of life?
Okay, I waited a while. um, Even though I have really not left America, so to speak, you can learn a lot about different cultures and different people just from your own neighbors. You can, your workplace, your work environment, on the street, in a park, you know, I mean, I'm a very people person. I can walk up to a stranger and just carry on a conversation. And, you know, it's fun to me. I love to meet people from different countries and different cultures. And even in this room, oh my gosh, it's carried me all over the world. I've met people from all over the world in Ring of Fire. And it's such a beautiful thing, because there's so many common denominators that we have and we share. And I never realized it until I came on Ring of Fire, and I have had these long chats with people from different countries, just how much we do have in common.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of Zello when I thought of that question. How powerful Zello is for finding people from different countries and learning about it, you know, learning about their cultures. It's probably one of the best tools, because it's interactive. Like I could go on YouTube right now and I could type in Muslim culture and I could watch 100 videos about Muslim culture, but I wouldn't get nearly, well, I would get a lot, but I wouldn't get nearly as much of a dynamic feel for Muslim culture, real Muslim culture, if I had just talked to like one or two people here on Zello who were Muslim. You know, so it's that one-on-one interaction. And yeah, pretty powerful stuff. Zello. Ring of Fire, I think especially. I feel bad. Project Peter was literally saying he was out. Didn't have a chance to say goodbye to Project Peter. Sorry, brother. Maybe next time. He just left. Like he said goodbye at the end of whatever he was saying, and I was like, oh, okay. I kind of doubted it, but he's out. So yeah, people come and go, and that's okay.
Well, I thought he meant he was just out for a minute. I didn't realize either that he was out, you know, period. Otherwise, I would have said goodbye as well. Um, but as you were saying, about, you know, the Ring of Fire, what makes it so unique on Zello is that it is the only channel that I've been on that you can actually interact, um, without being discriminated against, or, you know, teased, you know, about who you are, because of the fact that we, you know, have complete respect for everyone that comes into channels, into this channel. And that's why I think Ring of Fire is the best channel on Zello.
I would say for sure, without a doubt. It is. It definitely is. I'm trying to think of any other place where we would learn about someone else's culture, like where we would really learn something about another person's culture. With when you look, given, yeah, you could go to another person's country, you know, you could go to the country, like the home country of all these different cultures, and races and nationalities and stuff like this. And you go to Scotland to know more about Scottish, you know, and I don't know, China to know more about the Chinese, whatever. And you can go to North Korea to know, are all North Koreans like wanting to attack America, or is it just the crazy dictator? And even that could be bullshit. Like, yeah, that's what I hear on the news, that the leader of North Korea is like a crazy young kid, but maybe he's got some love in his heart. I don't know, but that's what the media has told me, and that's what I unfortunately or fortunately believe. I have not done 1 ounce of active research on the beliefs, the traditions, the culture of North Korea. So who am I to believe this information that is spoon-fed to me, whether I want it or not, about, let's say, North Korea? So, you know, where can we get real info about the cultures of another, you know, the actual culture of someone who isn't about us, it's not the same as us? You know, all I could think of is YouTube, and like you said, Tracy or Audrey, just going out in the streets, you know, at a park or whatever, and actually talking to people who look different than you, and asking them about their culture. You're like, I'd love to know a little bit more about your culture. Tell me, where are you from? What's your nationality? Blah, blah. I mean, that seems like a really cool, genuine, real way to do it. Like actually caring enough and to take time out of your own day. And for many of us, that's a busy day, right? You know, everybody has something to do, right? But to stop and actually have a conversation with someone who is different than you would be a great, probably a nourishing challenge. Where else can we learn more about other people's cultures, other than actually talking to someone who is different than us? Where else do we learn that? I mean, we talking in school? Do we have to go back to school to learn that? Do we just trust what we learned about a culture in school? What if we're like 60 and we haven't read anything about a culture in, I don't know, 40 some odd years in high school? You know, what then?
You know, I've met some of my best friends that way. Them just asking questions or me asking questions about them when I first meet them. It's really, really a fun and exciting way to get to know people, and it's amazing how similar a lot of cultures are to you.
I'm sorry, guys. Um, I have some personal issues here on Zello that I have to take care of, so I'm gonna have to leave. But I just want to say that this has been a wonderful program, and I've really enjoyed it very much. And thank you so much for having me, involved in it.
No problem. Appreciate the appreciation, Audrey. You have a wonderful night, sister. I love you, and keep your head up and carry on treating yourself well. You're like a shining example for others here in Ring of Fire and in your life, I'm sure. Really cool. So, all right, I'll catch you later. We'll always be here every week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Thank you, sweetheart, and I love you too. I'll talk to y'all later.
Next week, we're talking about how to be happy. So you might want to be able to shine, you might want to show up to shine your light for that as well next week. We're all going to share what makes us happy. That'll be a great one. Looking forward to that.
Bye, Sassy Mama. Hope you have a wonderful night. All right, Ring of Fire, please help me give a warm welcome to Dr. Pepper, who also goes by Doctor. Welcome back to the Ring of Fire. I'm Nemo, 29, and I live in Arizona. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone, and whoever's in here do the same.
Hello, Ring of Fire. It's glad to be back in your room, and a special warm welcome out to my first and favorite, only the best and only the best, Miss Cheryl Z. What's up, Cheryl?
Hey, sorry to cut you off, Dr. Pepper. If that was the case, I'm just not hearing a thing you're saying. I wonder if anybody else is experiencing the same thing. By the way, I'm Andrew from Los Angeles. I'm at least here once a week for the program Tuesday nights, Our Healing Choices. Welcome to the Ring of Fire.
I'm hearing him all right.
I hope I didn't cut him off. Sorry, Dr. Pepper, if I cut you off. I just didn't hear you. My bad.
No, you didn't cut him off. He wasn't talking when you keyed up. And hi, I don't know if I've met you. I think I might have come in here for a program of yours, but I'm Nemo.
What's going on, people? Good evening.
Well, Nemo, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm all the way from USA, the beautiful state of Michigan. And by the way, Nemo, since you're out there in Arizona, I'll be more glad to send you that snow because I know you guys get hot weather out there.
Awesome. Welcome, Dr. Pepper. Send some snow my way too. It'd be nice. I live in Cali, Los Angeles. It'd be nice. Just send it right here through the phone. Thank you. And welcome back to the channel, NYC Bronx. Welcome. We're rounding out the end of the Our Healing Choices program. We're talking about multicultural and interpersonal awareness. And the last question, if you care to entertain it, is where and how can we learn more about other people's cultures and traditions? Where do we learn about people that are different than us? Where, how? you guys care to hear a good story? It's relevant, I promise.
Yeah, go for it.
And by the way, hi Nemo. Did I see Shani? You go by. I vaguely remember that. On my computer, all I see is Nemo. So I think it's reversed on my phone. I would see Shani and not Nemo. It's weird. I hate flipping back and forth between my computer and my phone. But Shani, right?
Hey Nemo, may I please send you a friend request, please?
Yeah, sure you can. And no, I'm not Shani. I need to change my screen profile picture thingy. I just put a happy birthday Shani thing that Cheryl created.
Oh, so that was Shannon, right? Shan, her birthday was like today or yesterday, I think, right? I vaguely remember seeing or hearing something about that today.
Yeah, it was her birthday yesterday, so Cheryl made this cute little picture that I put up too.
Sweet, cool. Like that you guys do that for each other. That's awesome. So hold on a second. My neighbor's dog is barking. Usually he's barking at the loud sound coming out of my speakers sometime when people have a high voice or powerful microphone or whatever. But so I was going to tell the story about my neighbor. I used to do some computer work for my neighbor down the street. His name was Jerry. He was Jewish. And we were chit-chatting about the internet and how fascinated he was about it. He was older. He was in his late 60s, early 70s, I think maybe even late 70s, early 80s, I forget. He's getting up there. And he's, rest in peace, Jerry's gone now, but he had made a comment about the Cold War and about how at the time of the Cold War, how the media was tainting the Russians as being these horrible people. I mean, I wasn't around during the Cold War, but I know basically the media and what it did is it convinced the people of this country to not like the Russians, to the point where we would allow ourselves to be in a state of perpetual nuke warfare with the Russians. And what he said is it was powerful. He says, I would bet anything that if the internet and this communication with people as if they were like right next door to you through the internet, if this was possible back during the Cold War for everyone, then people would know who the real Russians were, that they would be kind of like them, human, just like them in many ways, just kind of similar. And we wouldn't think of them as these horrible people. And he says he thinks that the Cold War and all that fear could have been averted if the internet existed earlier on, and we actually felt more like the Russians were like our neighbors, and we wouldn't want to bomb or nuke our neighbors. We would blow ourselves up. It was like insane. Why would I hurt my neighbor? So he thought that was his theory. He's like, you guys have any thoughts on that? Relevant to today or anything? Any thoughts?
Hey Nemo, it was Shani's birthday yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And don't pull that up all the way, just halfway, okay? Sorry. I completely agree. I think having the internet takes away the fear of the unknown because it's not unknown anymore. The information about the other countries is available to you, plus communication with those other countries, travel to those other countries, it just opens up such a large option of communicating with the rest of the world that you get to know what's out there versus just knowing what you're told by your government.
he was right in a way. Like back in those days, the way you communicate with the Russian is if you made an expensive phone call to someone in Russia, and who would you call, right? Who are you going to call? Not the Ghostbusters. You're gonna call like someone you know. And how many of us knew people from Russia? I mean, I'm sure there were Russian people living amongst us at that time. For some of us, that could have told us, look, this is bullshit. Your country's tainting us as these horrible people, and we're not, or whatever. I'm sure there were some people, but there may not have been enough of them, and they wouldn't have been on national TV telling the world, this is bullshit what you're being fed, let's say, by your government or by the media. We're not horrible people. We would have never known that. We would have never known that. Yeah, it's just, and if we had the internet, we would have basically been able to communicate like we are right now fairly easily with someone, in Russia, and just be like, hey, so what's this deal? Like, you can actually get out of it. Like, is this true what they're saying about you? I'm just trying to figure this. You could be actively doing your own research and asking questions about these truths, quote unquote truths, that have been put on you by your government or the media. And I think that's super important to question the direction where you receive the information, whether it's coming from within or is it coming from outside of you at you, in a way that is suggestible and you might just believe it because that you don't have time to do the research.
But another issue that's happening now is a lot of people are becoming very complacent. It's so much easier to just turn on the TV or, hear the radio station, what they have to say about what's going on in the world. Look what's going on with the Middle East. Most people have been fear-mongered into thinking that there's some giant scary enemy out there, that there's countries full of people who are just absolutely dead set on tearing down the United States, when in all reality, it's a ploy by the government to get something that they want. It's happened in Africa, it's happened in the Middle East, it's happened in Asia, it's still continuing. And even now, if you look into our politics, it's still happening. There's a lot of fear-mongering. Nobody wants to actually step outside of their box and see if the information that they're being fed is actually true.
Through that, it's like we've all got our heads in the sand, so buried that we're afraid to take our head out of the sand and actually, see the world and accept it for what it is or something. It's sad. It's almost like fear has got us stuck in the headlights, like deer. We're afraid to move. We're afraid to find out the truth of the matter. And where would we go about that anyway? That's the thing. It's like, what do we believe? I have a client of mine that is worried about everything. Like she doesn't know what to, straight up. I mean, like she's so worried about stuff that it doesn't matter what you tell her, who tells her, she's going to be worried about it because she has no real solid way of deciphering the truth of anything. And it's so sad that, I mean, she must be the only one. I mean, to a certain extent, not all of us are absolutely confident about what we know and what we understand about people or a thing. Now, I've seen a lot of things done on Jimmy Kimmel where they ask people questions. So where did you get that thought? Where did that come from? Oh, I just believe it. And like, where did you get the belief that these people are that bad or whatever it might be? And they can't come up with it. They have no idea. Like, oh, that's just how I feel. It's like, where did you get this information? You don't even know, why you feel this way or that way. It's sad.
It is really sad. It is very, very sad. And the crazy thing is there's so much opportunity to be able to leave the United States and see the world. You don't even have to go everywhere. Just to leave here and see one country that's different from here would enlighten you so much and open your horizons. There's really nothing to be afraid of out there. Everything that you're going to find out there is what you can find here as far as danger goes, you know? So what is holding you back? If it was a requirement for students between high school and college age to leave the United States at least one time for a few weeks, I think that honestly this country would be so much better, so different, so much more enlightened, so much more compassionate towards the world, so much more excited for growth and prosperity and acceptance and, you know, not being scared of everything. That's the biggest problem. A lot of people haven't even left their own hometown, let alone seen the United States, let alone left the country. The world is so different and it's so amazing that it's really sad that people don't get to experience this.
True that. True that. I remember my friends and I, my two good friends, we left for Europe literally like a month and a half, somewhere about a month and a half after 9/11 happened. And for whatever reason, most people were telling us, you shouldn't travel. You shouldn't go to another country. They, like, as if we were in some way in danger by other people from another country, like somehow judging us a certain way. And like, I'm thinking to myself now, like after the fact, we were the ones that were attacked at that time. Why would we be afraid of other countries, especially in Western Europe, like being angry at us or putting us in harm's way of some sort? And it was really just this weird, like, fear, just general fear that something bad was going to happen. And we had a great trip. It was one of the best times ever. And only once did someone mention something. It was like a Canadian, and I forget what they even said. It wasn't even really negative, but like it wasn't anything to be concerned about. And only one person, and all the people we met and came across in those 2 or a little over 2 months that we were in, you know, traveling, you know, backpacking Europe, basically, did anything even come up? So it's like people believe too much in what they see, I think, on TV and what people tell them, and they're afraid, or they don't care or have enough time to really search and find out, is that actually true, what this person is telling me? You know, like, I trust them, like I've known them forever, probably it's true. You know, I don't have time. You know, and next thing you know, we have a belief that some culture, like Muslims, are terrorists. You know, it's like, God, really? Really?
Absolutely, and it's literally that complacency that comes back into order. People are just so self-absorbed that it's why bother? You know, why bother put the effort and energy out there? Most states in the United States, most towns have a multitude of different cultures. Even the smallest ones have some type of multicultural center or other faith or, you know, certain ethnic groups that specifically are in certain areas that they could go check out, that they could interact in their festivals. Just here in Arizona, I mean, the amount of festivals that we have here, the amount of churches and events and things that have to do with other people's either faiths or cultures or whatever, it's incredible. And to think, you know, when I run into people here who have no idea, I look at them and I'm like, what are you doing? Are you hiding under a rock? How do you not see this? It's in your face if you choose to see it. You know, if you don't want to see it, if you don't want to know about it, if you don't want to hear about it, then it's not going to be there. And all you have to blame for your lack of, you know, knowledge for the cultures and the peoples around you is yourself. You choosing to just be very self-absorbed and focus just on you. You know, it's important to focus on yourself and make sure that your life is right. But with the world blending as much as it is, it's really sad if you can't step out of your comfort zone or even just open your eyes to see who your neighbors are, you know? Say hello, like you said, just coming up to a person who looks different than you and saying hi and introducing yourself and asking them questions and even telling them questions about yourself. I came to this country from a different country when I was a child. I grew up American, so my customs for the most part are very American. However, I did come from another country, so I have a lot of cultural differences. However, the way I've made my friends and the way my friends have made friends with me is asking questions. I go every wedding party, every religious party, every holiday party that we have. I always have friends come with me. They all know everything about me, my family. It's amazing. And I know the same about them. I mean, I think I was maybe 7, 8 years ago when I finally cooked my first real like American meal, although my friends have been eating, you know, my traditional food all the time from coming to my house, but me actually getting in the kitchen and cooking, you know, a pot roast, it was incredible, you know, and all it was just talking to my friends, meeting new people, working new places. This all happened after I had moved to Idaho and I was taking care of this lady who was from Alabama, and she just loved, you know, down home Southern cooking. And I was like, listen, lady, I have no idea what you're talking about. And she walked me through it step by step. And in turn, I cooked food for her from my country. She enjoyed it so much. And I enjoyed what she taught me so much that it's over the past, God knows how many years, has influenced my life now.
I'm just formulating a question. Do you have a minute to tell me a little bit about your culture? Straight up, like introduce yourself and then just say, hey, do you have a minute to tell me a little bit about your culture? I noticed whether you say you look different than me, you don't have to point out the obvious. You probably do look different than them. They may have a culture that's identical to yours, but you won't know until you ask them. So do you have a minute to tell me a little bit about your culture?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so like I said, my name is Nino. I'm 29. I live in Arizona. I came here as a refugee when I was 5 years old. My mom is Somalian. My dad is Ethiopian. Both East African, however, two totally different countries, cultures, languages, food, writing, reading, everything is different. It's like comparing Mexico to America. I know a lot of people tend to think Africa and think it's one big country, but it's a giant continent with a bunch of different countries. Yeah, I don't know. You gotta be a little specific. What exactly do you want to know?
True that. You might want to guide them a little bit, but you know, you might say, do you have a minute to tell me some like a favorite thing about your culture? Something like this, you know? And obviously something's to kind of come to mind, you know, something that they do. Maybe it's a dance that they do. Maybe it's how they break bread, or if they break bread with family, you know, stuff they did growing up, you know, that was very cultural. Who knows, right? But I think that's pretty damn healthy, you know, and probably a really great way to break the ice with a new person you meet, you know. And the reality of it is that even if they look almost identical to you, their culture could be miles apart. You know, like I might walk up to someone that looks like me. I'm white, right? Fair skinned, you know, light skinned, of course. And I walk up to someone who's, let's say, looks kind of like me. Maybe he's or she's from Ireland, and they have, let's say, a completely different culture than me. And more than likely they do, except like, how much do I know about an Irish person and their culture? I don't. I know very little, you know. And the reality of it is, I think a lot of us know very little about other people's cultures other than what we see on TV. Weird.
That is very true. I can remember, gosh, I can't even count how many times people would ask, kids would ask, people that I've grown up with and met over the years, if what they see on TV is what Africa looks like. Is it just a desert safari with sparse trees and lions? Did you have to run from hyenas? I mean, crazy things. I've never seen a hyena. I don't even think I've ever seen one in the zoo. I mean, if you just look online, any country in Africa, you see that they have cities, that they have McDonald's, that they have a lot of the same things that we have here, just not as much and not in such a large capacity. There is a lot of rural, there's a lot of, still you have bush people and forest people and whatnot, but it's very similar to here. I know from my dad's and my mom's, I mean, I definitely enjoy the music, the food. The food is my favorite. If you asked me any day what food I preferred, it would be a struggle between my mom's people's food and my dad's people's food, and then maybe some other cultural food. But it's what I enjoy the most. It's amazing. You can learn a lot, definitely, from asking people questions.
This is a kind of maybe a difficult question, but how do we relate to people who are culturally and racially different than us? If there's anyone else in the room that can describe maybe a situation, I mean, hey, look, it's wide open. Describe a situation that that you've been in your life or whatever, and how you related to another culture, another person who's different than you. I don't know. I feel like we can learn something here. We've been learning a lot. I think this has been a great program. A lot to be learned from this. I'm definitely going to reflect back on this one from time to time. But how to relate to people who are different than us. I mean, yeah, this question would be great, just learning a little bit about them. But how else could we relate to people who are different than us? Part of me feels like common ground, but there's more to it than that, I'm sure.
Hey Shani, happy birthday, sweetheart. I hope you had a great birthday, hon, and I hope you're doing well. And by the way, Nemo, I sent you a friend request like you said I could, but you haven't accepted it yet.
Yeah, I haven't left the channel yet. I'm in solo mode with the channel currently. I'll check it later and accept it. I think the easiest way to connect with a person who's different than you is realizing that they're just a person. At the end of the day, they go to work to pay their bills. Family values are always strong. Religious values are always strong. The basic things that you find value and strength within your own life is 9 times out of 10 the exact same thing any person from any other country values as well.
I like this, that they are literally human and they have the same needs, basic needs that we all have. Is core. And anything else that you can connect that is a human thing. I don't know. Sports. I mean, I think we're all either at some point or another familiar with that. Sports or religion. You could ask them questions about their religion, although that might be a little bit loaded. I don't know. I mean, there's so much that is human about us, you know. Like my buddy Tim, he does these happy pop-up, you know, pop-up parties. I forget what the pop-up happy hour is what he calls it. And you know, once in a while he asks the question, you know, what was the happiest moment of your life? Straight up. Like, we can all relate to that, right? You know, happiness is one of those things, it's like a human thing. It's what we all kind of want. So even that question is a pretty powerful one.
It really is. It really is.
Hey guys, is the topic going yet still? Or is it over? And hope y'all are doing well.
Hey, Joseph. I think it is going still, and I hope you're doing well too. One thing I've found when you decide to, you know, pop out of your shell and start asking questions. So I live in Arizona. We have a large Native American, you know, population here, whether Navajo, Hopi, Apache, you know, the list goes on. And so obviously I went to school with a lot of kids who especially were Navajo. It is just like mind-blowing how many things culturally that they do that are so similar to things that we do, from blessing an animal before you kill it to make food out of it, you know, to just simple ceremonies that you have at home, rites of passages, things that you would not think were similar. I mean, my family is from a whole nother continent, you know, two totally different cultures, yet here I am and I have very, very similar things to people that are indigenous to here, to America, you know, even basket weaving rugs and clothing. I mean, when I showed my friends the same type of baskets that we make all the way in my country, it was incredible, because here, when you think about baskets and woven rugs, you think, oh, Native Americans. But no, other countries do the same things and actually very similar patterns, which is huge.
Hope I didn't cut anybody off. The topic is still going. We're just kind of rounding off the end of the program here. Thankfully, we don't have to pick a topic for next week. We're actually going to talk about how to be happy. Really cool topic. Surprised it hasn't come up before. Thinking I might invite my friend who I just mentioned, who does the pop-up happy hours, to come in and see if he can give a little, just be here, whether he wants to talk about it or not, just be here. We'll see if I get him into the mix next week. But yeah, we're running it out. The topic of the week for tonight is multicultural and interpersonal awareness. And we were just basically skimming on how to relate to people who are culturally and racially basically just different than us. You know, how to relate. And Emo was just mentioning some stuff, and I think she got cut off, or I missed her transmission. I don't know. Before we had some people mic up in the untrusted.
Oh, I know how to be happy. Be happy with oneself and don't give a rat's ass about what anyone says about you. This could also apply to racial and cultural stuff too. You know, somebody says something bad about you, just sit there and laugh and go about your business. And that is my short version of how to be happy and or good with oneself.
Well, then maybe, hopefully, you can join us next week to shine your light, shine your awesomeness next week. Next week's going to be fun because I think there's so many different ways to be happy that a lot of us are maybe unaware of because of all the things that are not making us happy. We get so focused on the things that are wrong that we tend to forget and or see the things that are right in the world, that are awesome, that are fun, that are magical even. So yeah, I think we already went into this, but this question, where can we find and get to know good people who are culturally and racially different than us? And I think we already kind of touched on that you know, Zello and or even better yet, the Ring of Fire is one source and one place where we can meet these people and get to know them, especially if we live in, you know, podunk, let's say Arkansas. I hate to judge, but I'm guessing that's mostly white. I'm not sure, but if you wanted to get to know, let's say, a Muslim or an Indian or I don't know, an African American person, and understand their culture, you might have to get out of your town or maybe onto an app like this to do it, or at least to do it well.
Alright, so everybody knows I live in a town in South Dakota. The town I live in is actually has a reservation. It's the Santee Sioux, the Flandreau Santee Sioux tribe. And they're actually really great people. I'm friends with some Santee Sioux tribe members, and they're really great. I mean, they've got kids, and they get along with my daughter really well. Their culture and my culture, there's actually really no difference. It's pretty much the same.
Great, glad to hear it. Well, if some of them have Zello, maybe you can bring them on Zello. And by the way, guys, I just got back from a practice now, so yeah, just so you know, it's really nice to see you all again.
You too, Joseph. Welcome back, brother. Welcome back. So let's see, where else can we find and get to know people who are different than us culturally, racially, everything else, Lee? Where do we get to know people who are different than us? Where do we find them and get to know them? Other than Zello. And I think we already kind of touched on this, like I said, you know, at a park, just about anywhere. Nemo and I were talking about just the idea of you know, approaching people and introducing yourself and just basically saying that you're curious and you'd love to know if they have some time for them to tell you a little bit about their culture. You know, assuming that it's different than your own, which is almost 100% of the time true, even if you're white and they're white, or even if you're black and they're black, or even if you're Indian and they're Indian. There's a really good chance that their culture and the way they were brought up is going to be different in some way that you would be surprised to know probably is different than yours.
Absolutely. I think even just going online and finding out events that are happening in your town, whatever town it is, just things that would have a lot of people going to them, YMCAs, church events, library events, all of those tend to attract all sorts of people, you know, and that would open up a great way for you to meet people that, you know, are different from you and just be more culturally aware of the people that you live next to.
That's one thing I need to do more, is to go to more cultural events. I live in Los Angeles, and under my nose are probably an event every weekend at least, that is all about a different culture that is different than my own. And so I have no excuse living in LA. And so I'm definitely going to be doing more of that. Funds permitting, I will, and some of these are free. I think if you go on to Craigslist, and that's something I'm going to probably do, is check Craigslist first and see what kind of free events are going on around town that are, you know, different, about a different culture. Even if it's a culture that I wouldn't even necessarily want to know much about, just that, you know, like, I don't want to judge them. And so, like, for instance, the Muslim culture, I feel like we all deserve to see the reality of their culture, and no longer see them as these, not to say that everybody does, but, you know, to as a culture, as an American culture, to no longer see them as the bad guys. You know, I think they've just gotten a bad rap, and it's just total BS. And it saddens me to no end that a whole culture, a whole nationality has been deemed like terrorists by the majority of Americans. And that to me, if that's anywhere near true, is sickening to me.
I think one thing people don't realize is that Islam, or people who are Muslim, it's, sorry for the dead air, I'm trying to put the words together. Islam is a faith, and if you even just go to one Islamic, you know, event that happens in your town or whatever, to see the multitude of people and cultures that follow the religion is incredible. I mean, like, it's incredible to see how many different countries, how many different faces that you're going to see at an event. I went to one of the religious celebrations is called Eid. They just had one, Eid al-Adha, and the Phoenix Convention Center, let me tell you, thousands of people from everywhere, Asia, Europe, America. I mean, Muslims of all races, creeds, everything. It's the most incredible thing. The opportunity to see beyond what you see on TV and to not be afraid of what you see from what the news is blasting in your face every day is open. It's there. It's available. You just have to see it. You just have to open your eyes. You just have to accept that sometimes the things that you hear on TV aren't true, you know? And if you have the desire to do it, the world is literally an open book.
I guess you're right. It is like an open book. And just so you guys know, I think open book reminds me of like a talking assistive technology, not the open book you guys are probably thinking of. And Andrew, thanks for welcoming me back. Yeah, I actually had, just so you know, I got out of practice real early because a bunch of things just happened. So next week will be a full practice for me, so next Tuesday, so yeah.
So are you saying that we're going to miss you the whole program, or how does that work out? It looks like you came into the end of it at least, so that's good, you know. But we'll love to know what you practice, if you're willing, care to share that. And Nemo, very, very well put, your last transmission. It's so important for us to realize that what we see on TV is not, like on the news, is not necessarily true. And not to assume, and that there's that word again, assume, making ass out of you and me, assume that what we see on the news is truth about anyone, especially when it comes to a culture or a type of people. Just not right. It's a very, very, very big world out there, and there's like Nemo says, there's different people, different faces matched to religions or nationalities that you wouldn't expect. Like she said, you go to an event and it's a Muslim event, but you might see a bunch of white-looking people there, or Indian, Native American people there that you wouldn't necessarily think are Muslim, but identify with, let's say, Muslim, the Muslim culture or way of life or whatever it might be. And so a lot of opportunities there. I initially thought going into this that those events are only for those people, but the reality of it is that if you actually go to enough of those events, I'm sure you're going to find a lot of people who are not the prototypical Muslim, so to speak, you know. And that's refreshing to know, you know. I mean, for all of us, you know, get out and see the world. I'm totally with Nemo on this. Is like, get out, see the world, look up on Craigslist, find some cool events that are nothing about your culture, and just to open your eyes to another part of the world, you know, another, you know, potentially really happy, fun way to be that you didn't know existed before. It's been here under your nose all this time.
Yeah, and you would be amazed at how much fun you'll have. Amazed. And how many people you'll meet who, even in whatever event that you're going to, are different from that event. And then you become friends with them, and then you get invited to see their cultural parties. It's crazy. I mean, I've been to Buddhist temples, a multitude of different Christian churches, Muslim churches. I went to, when I was in Idaho, I went to a bookstore to get some incenses and whatnot, and they had flyers for, I think they called, I don't know if it was an Espit or a Sabbath, some Wiccan celebration. So I went to it. Why? Because I wanted to. It was interesting. It was different. It was something that I didn't know, and they were very welcoming, and they wanted people to come and see and experience and be educated. And most cultures are like that, you know, especially most cultures that have come to the United States. They want to be as American as everyone else, but they want Americans to see and enjoy their culture as well, and see what they bring here as well. You know, it's a give and take. They take all of the culture here and experience it and enjoy it, and it's amazing to share it too. I love bringing people to events that my family or close family friends or even my community, you know, hosts, because it's eye-opening. It's something new, and I enjoy them learning about me and my culture and where I come from, and, you know, seeing how we relate to what things are very similar, and seeing that at the end of the day, it's all the same. It's all the same. Maybe in a different language, maybe a different way of expressing it, but it's all the same.
Hello, good morning. Yes, when Trump gets into power, he will stop and nobody can enter the United States, and then you cannot enjoy. And we wish that Hillary will win the election.
Thanks for voicing your opinion. It's all good. If that's true, I feel like half of what politicians say never happens. You know, they talk a big game, but they're not able to follow through for whatever reason. So who's to say if even that's true? But again, where this is the thing, is where do we get our beliefs from? Where do we get our information from? Is it fed to us? Has it been told to us? Or did we actively pursue that information and therefore actively have that belief because of the research that we did on our own accord? I think that's one of the more important lessons, I think, to learn from this multicultural interpersonal awareness thing is that what we know of another culture or tradition or I don't know, even gender, you can't just believe because so-and-so said it. You know, I mean, even if you really respect this other person, you can't necessarily just take it for truth. I mean, just take a little bit of time, especially before you go. I'm not saying that this person coming in was like spewing, you know, some kind of agenda or something like that. But before you go and say that X, Y, Z is going to happen, you know, do your own research and find out if that's really has a tinge of truth, at least for you. And at least before you end up regurgitating and reflecting that same ideology and belief back out into the world, to carry that forward when that could be a wholeheartedly not true or not nourishing or negative belief that you're essentially reflecting back into the world. Check yourself. I think it's so important.
Yeah. You're right. You're right about that. We should check ourselves in that. And yeah, I'm kind of, my head's kind of spinning. What else could I put into this conversation? And also, my gospel choir practice always goes from 7 to 9, and for the most part, we always go to the practice. So yeah, it's every Tuesday. Basically, actually, and Mondays, since I'm in jazz choir, it's kind of challenging too, because it's also from 7 to 9, and I always go to that as well. But like you said, I can always catch the other programs on YouTube, like I need to start doing. I know I keep saying that, but I haven't done that yet.
Straight up, this is probably one of the best programs we've had in a long time. I mean, I think they're all good. It's just I think this one, you know, has a certain tinge of otherworldliness. Like it's kind of magical. This one, for sure. And it's not over yet. I'm open to any other thoughts, comments that you guys have. I have only one last question that I had kind of tentatively drawn up as a talking point, and that is, I noticed that there was I searched for a lot of things about diversity, like how we're all diverse and how we're all different cultures, different race, different ethnicities, different sexual preferences, different political affiliations, different everything. And so what came to mind is that can there be unity in our diversity?
I agree.
I think that's the biggest thing that the world needs to work on. Is stop seeing everything as a difference and seeing how the same it is. At the end of the day, the differences that we have as far as beliefs, political interests, whatnot, the end result of what that difference is the same thing as the other person wants. Safety, you know, equality, great quality of life, opportunity to grow and work, opportunity to enjoy life. It's all the same, you know. It might be wearing a different politician's face or a different religion's face or a different language or a different skin color, but at the end of the day, the thing that those different people want is exactly the same.
Okay, that was so good. I am going to end this program on that note. By the way, there are a lot of inspirational memes that I didn't get a chance to show you guys or read off to you. They are, if you guys want to follow up, well, I mean, first of all, I have to say, thank you all for making the choice to be here. And I say this every week, but like, you didn't have to choose this. You could have chosen to do a multitude, an infinite number of other things, but you chose to be here. So I am straight up saying thank you. You are an incredible person just for making a choice to share your knowledge about this topic, to want to be here and to be a part of this. And that to me is incredible. So I love you guys for that and for who you are. And just want to get that out on the table. You're incredible. Come back, because there will be more. It's an every week thing, and it's always a nourishing outcome. So on that note, yeah, you can go to the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/OurHealingChoices. And let's see, on the event page, there are a lot of the most recent posts on the event page. There's a lot of memes, inspirational pictures about this topic that are pretty inspirational. You might want to check out over 20 of them this week. I went overboard. You can check out the Our Healing Choices past episodes programs on YouTube. Just type in Our Healing Choices in the search, and there is a current playlist going. As of tomorrow or later tonight, I should have this program, hopefully, and last program. If I hadn't already shared that, I might have. 131, week 131, and then this week's 132, hopefully by tomorrow, up on YouTube for you guys all to kind of revamp, go back to re-nourish yourself with. I know for sure I will with this program. I like this, what we talked about tonight, and you can always share that with others. Anyway, there's that, and add yourself to the Our Healing Choices channel to be notified of the event each week. That's just, there's no qualifications. You can just add yourself to that channel, and you get the topic of the week, at least the top of the hour before the event, but before the topic starts. What else? Cheryl's channel, Ring of Fire. It's facebook.com/Ring of Fire chat. You can go there, see what's new and different in the Ring of Fire. And I'm probably missing something, forgetting something, but yeah, thanks again, guys, for being here. Carry on. If you still want to talk about this stuff, that's great. I'm generally opening it up to open topic chat, but no reason why we can't continue, with the energy a little bit. I generally have to get going in a few minutes. So if you guys have any questions for me or anything,